Attend the tale of Maxwell Roth. He sought the footlights like a moth, his sense of timing never off until he opted to collaborate with a hooded reprobate. The blighter and assassin made a deadly double bill. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming. The curtain rose, the scene was set, they danced a murderous duet, and much deserving blood was let up to the scene wherein they disagreed on who should live and who should bleed, and Maxwell Rothy then received a very bad review. Jokes, 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 and there's daggers and there's cloaks, but behind the scenes the leading players differ on the plot. Laugh, laugh, laugh at the dandy's new red scarf. Now 8 shows a week to Beelzebub is his eternal lot. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princess charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming.
Did you see it coming? I didn't. At least not the first time I heard it, because I'm a loser like that. Let me swap the camera view. Sorry, we're using new software. We're getting used to it. Let's see if this works, and it looks like it did. Except now I'm a little... There we go. A little bit better. How you guys doing? Welcome. Glad to have you. Everybody's gonna have a good time. I like it. So, as always, we are kind of in the process of formulating our new system for the show, because things have changed around a little bit. Of course, now we're on Twitch. Now we're doing all sorts of stuff. I also figured out how to add markers so that people afterwards have time codes, and I just did that. Yeah, and the camera worked on the first try, so we're on a roll. I just gave up on the nice camera. I was going to try to do that, but then I bailed on it. But no, we're here. We're queer. We're happy to rock out. We've got a lizard behind us. I should clarify, I also introduced her in the new critique. The first part, or the second part of which, is currently available to patrons. So if you are a supporter on Patreon, you can actually go watch the critique now. Which is kind of cool. So you get to see it early. It's probably not going up for another day and a half or so for the regular public. So yeah, if you want to see the video early before everyone else, then you can go, even just for $1, you'll get access for 45 minutes to watch the video. So, but no, it's good. It's on the gameplay selections of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then we're revving up for the third part, which will be covering the DLC and all of that stuff. So it's good. I've had Khaleesi the dragon for like since early December, like December, probably mid-December, I guess. So like December 14th, around there. But she's always been outside in like our kind of family room type area. And then she was living next to a sibling of hers, but we decided to separate them because everyone we asked said that we should separate them, besides the person at the pet store where we got them. I think they were just trying to get a quick sale. So I didn't, in hindsight, I don't think they were being as honest as they could be. As for, let's see who asked it. Okay, TSC, is the podcast available on Spotify? It is. Just search Talk Gaming on Spotify. It's fairly new on Spotify, so you might have to go scroll a little bit before you find it, because it's brand new. It's like they just approved it to go up. So yeah, go check it out. But it is on Spotify, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. As for other things, yeah, basically I just have 3 things I want to talk about today. Just 3 topics, and more stuff will probably come up as we go through and as we're talking. So don't think that it's going to be boring, but 3 big topics that I think have come to fruition over the last week or so, and I think we should address them. And those are, of course, the Epic versus Steam thing that's going on right now. GameStop basically had their stock crash today, so I want to talk about that. And then also, of course, the Anthem demo that we've been playing over the last week or so, whenever it's available. I want to talk about each of these things throughout my ideas, and I want to get your thoughts. I got the chat seemingly working, so we can use that, which is kind of cool. And I think I can even allow the text to stay up a little bit longer. If I can figure it out. If you didn't see my story on YouTube, because that's a thing now apparently, I now have 4 monitors, so you might see me looking all over the place. It's because I'm cool and I've got 4 monitors because 2 wasn't enough. And no, I'm not overcompensating. Yes, I did get the demo working, Tyler, and I did play it for about 3.5-ish hours. So I'll show you some footage from that. If you didn't see my video on my first impressions and that sort of thing, let me pull it up here and I can show you. I won't show you the full video, but like I'll get the link at the very least so you can set it aside, watch it after the stream. But no, it's fairly straightforward. Again, we'll deep dive into it. We'll figure out all of our in-depth thoughts, emotions, and the like. And then, of course, the last big thing to address. Guys, so no, that's the video. Let me copy the link. I'm not trying to watch it. There we go. Okay, I'll post it in the chat right about now. There we go. Let's just, enough stalling. Let's jump into the first topic for you. Now, as for the Steam versus Epic Games, basically, if you're totally not aware of what's going on, basically what happened is Epic Games, the guys behind Fortnite, are trying to compete directly with Steam. Steam is, of course, the juggernaut of PC gaming. Last week, and when I say last week, I mean last week. I'm not being hyperbolic. Last week, YouTubers all across YouTube, the platform entirely, were praising Epic because Epic came out and said, okay, Steam takes a 30% cut of every single game that sells, right? So you sell it for $10, they take $3. And Epic Games was going to take 12%, so they would take $1.20. So obviously game developers and publishers are going to look at that and say, you know what, it's way more profitable for us to pursue a partnership with Epic Games than with Steam because we will be making significantly more money, which is just, it's a no-brainer at that point. So basically what happened is the guys behind Metroid Exodus announced that they were going to be releasing exclusively on Epic Games Store and not on Steam. Now, the main drama comes from the fact that Metro, did I say Metroid? I think I said Metroid. Metro Exodus, the primary issue is that it was initially sellable on and purchasable on Steam. So people bought it, they pre-ordered it, and that's all it was. And then all of a sudden Epic pulls the plug on it, or rather the developers pull the plug on it, say, no, we're only going to be over on Epic Games Store, which is normally like, okay, they must have given them a good chunk of change. Well, it's also only going to be $50 instead of $60 because of the larger margin and because Epic Games is probably fronting them a good chunk of change. If you want to buy this game, you can just do so through Epic for $50 instead of the regular $60 price tag. I mean, this is what competition does, guys. Like, it drives prices down. It's good for the consumer. But instead of this, it's very loud. I'm sorry that's so loud. I don't know how to fix that. I'll figure it out. I don't know where these subscribers come from because I don't think I can get subscribers on Twitch. Anyway, but basically what happens is all of this drives prices down. Everybody wins. But inevitably, people ran into this weird objection, which is that their Steam library is so much larger than their Twitch library, or than their Epic Games library, so it's anti-consumer to release it. Now, if you think I'm being hyperbolic, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be. And I figured the best way to tackle this would be to actually look at a video that one of my favorite content creators produced addressing this issue. And that, of course, is Boogie2988. Now, I tweeted about this, asking people if they could explain it to me or give me some input on it. And Ben Brown on Twitter responded to me, and he kind of explained roughly what was going on, but he pointed it out and recommended that I watch Boogie's video on it. I'd actually just finished watching it when I tweeted it. I don't understand the frustration. I really don't. And that's why the title of this episode, at least as of right now, is Epic Games Alarmists, because the gaming community is overrun with all of these alarmists who think that it's okay to just freak out about random crap, and I don't understand why that's okay. Thank you, Hiba Hassam, I think. I just don't understand. I don't think it's okay. I don't think it should be admirable. I don't think we should praise it. And the issue is that it gets clicks when people freak out about stuff, and so people talk about how outraged they are, and there are some real issues. Now we'll break it down and we'll look at this, because if I'm wrong, I want to be informed. I want to figure out why I'm wrong. I honestly just don't understand why people are so upset about this. So with that said, let me pull this up and we can watch it. Don't worry, for those of you listening on Spotify or iTunes or SoundCloud, we'll have the audio, so it don't fret. We'll be okay. We'll get through this together. By the way, I just saw Rock of Ages at the Buell Theater in Denver, and it was pretty damn phenomenal. Like, that musical, when done properly, not like the movie, when done properly, is pretty remarkable. And now I've got those songs stuck in my head, and it's a whole thing. My roommates are pissed at me because I play the songs all day long. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Rock of Ages after this. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this is Boogie2988. If you're not familiar with him, he's kind of like the granddad or dad of YouTube. I don't know at what point he becomes grandfather versus father, but he's been on there for a long, long time. And he has also lost a ton of weight, which is really good for him. But basically, he made a video last week explaining how Epic Games coming in to compete with Steam was a really, really good thing. Slight buzzing noise. It might be interference. I dropped something. Oh shit. I mean, oh poop. This is a family-friendly, advertiser-friendly show. I have this cup full of candy. I swear it's candy. It's a red Solo cup. And yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I thought of that. I just saw it. If there is buzzing, don't worry. I'll try to figure it out when we take a little break here in a little bit. But basically what happens is, or what happened, he made the video. He explained that he thought it was good that this competition was going. And then after this news came out, in the span of about a week, everybody flip-flops, and all of a sudden it's the worst thing ever. So I want to respond to it. I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Boogie. If I am going and kind of contrasting or responding to what he says, I'm not doing it so vitriolically or negatively. I love this man. Okay, so let's
YouTube Boogie2988 coming at you live once again to the power of the internet, and this is a bit of a follow-up to a video I made last week pitting Steam versus the Epic Launcher Store. There's been an update, and I want to get into that, but before I do, I want to talk about that video. Based on the comments and the feedback from that video, a lot of you are under the impression that I want Epic to win this fight, and I do not. I own hundreds of Steam games at this point. I want Steam to stick around. I want Steam to be successful. I'm rooting for Steam, and if it were up to me, I would only use Steam as a launcher. That would be the only one I would use. But
Okay, so just to address this real quick, it's one thing to be frustrated with the way that like Steam and EA compete, because it seems as though it's like two parents that divorce and they're playing tug of war with little Jimmy in between them. Each of them are pulling on one arm until inevitably one arm rips off and it's like a wishbone. Whoever gets more of him wins. It's lame that it has to be done this way, but this whole argument is prefaced on what I think is a misnomer. It's a false equivalent. Like it's not true that consumers are being shafted in the way that they're making it out to be. So when Boogie says that this is a big development, I don't see it as a big development. He'll explain a little bit more and we'll come back to that. But the other thing is, it's not a matter of winning or losing. Like Epic versus Steam, it's not a matter of Steam wins, Epic loses, or Epic wins, Steam loses. It's not a matter of that. Like these both are multi-billion-dollar companies who have games behind them and like resources behind them that are unimaginable to the regular everyday individual. They're not going to just fall over and say, oh, well, no, we're good. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and Steam is shutting down. Rather, what people are upset about is that they're going to have two launchers. Now, again, I have to be careful because criticizing this can get quite a large hate mob on coming on. But if you're a PC player, I want you just to think pragmatically, like, what kind of difference does it honestly make? I have an an Origin launcher that I was using for the Anthem beta, demo, whatever it was. I've got, of course, Steam. I've got Uplay for Ubisoft games. If you play Bethesda games, such as Fallout 76, you need Bethesda's launcher. Like that right there, for a lot of mainstream games, you have 4 different launchers. If you play Blizzard games, you got Blizzard's own launcher. Like whatever, like you've got all of these different things as access to the games. Now, is that honestly anti-consumer of them? Were people considering it to be anti-consumer when Bethesda Net came out? No, they were worried primarily that it was going to be a front for microtransactions, or that they were dodging Steam's charges. But that's because Steam takes 30%. That's significant. It's okay for a company to be like, okay, this company that we have to sell through is taking a third of what we earn, and so maybe we can find an alternative, find another way of managing this cost. That's okay. I have no issue with that. I would think that the company was stupid if they didn't have an issue with it. So I have no issue with all this. And honestly, for me, at least, looking at this, I don't understand the freak out over multiple launchers. I already use multiple launchers, and the difference is clicking within 1 square inch on my home screen, clicking here versus here. Like, it really doesn't make that big of a difference. You can say, well, what about people with small hard drives who have issues storing multiple of these launchers? Like, if you're a gamer, like, the difference between launchers is minuscule. Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh no, 50 megs set aside for the Epic launcher. Yeah, I need that 42 gigs for the game I'm downloading. I don't buy that argument. So I guess it's a minor inconvenience, you could argue. But even then, I don't see how that justifies the industrialized outrage that we're getting. But anyway, I digress. Let's give Boogie a fair shake and hear what else he has to say.
I was rooting for here is that Epic is finally providing some actual competition for Steam, and why that is good is because Steam has been resting on its laurels for about a decade now. We need Steam to start giving better discounts and better deals to developers. We need them to start selling games for even cheaper and do more frequent sales and give back to the community more often. Maybe start giving away free games like every other platform does. And more importantly, this is what I really want Steam to do. I want its parent company, Valve, to start making video games again. I want them to make Portal 3 and Left 4 Dead 3 and Half-Life 3 and Team Fortress. Basically, like I said in the last video, I just want them to learn to count to 3. Now, if you haven't watched...
Now, I first of all, let's just be honest, the last bit doesn't really apply. Like, okay, we want Steam to make games again. They're not going to. Like, they'll make a couple. Their most recent one, Artifact, I don't know if you guys were aware of Artifact. We talked about it on the show last week. That game kind of flopped hardcore, and it was really, really greedy in the way that they structured their microtransactions and the pricing model. It was just really poorly done. That's the Steam we're dealing with now. And once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why would they turn away from a segment of their business that is printing money? Because they can take 30% of pretty much every PC game sale that's not directly off of like Bethesda Net or off of Uplay or Origin. They get 30% of any of those PC game sales. That's ridiculous. And that's why they have been making billions and billions and billions of dollars. So it's easy to say, I wish that Steam made games, but like it's just not what they're doing anymore. So it's kind of useless to become outraged over their lack of commitment into that segment of their business, because it just isn't. They've moved on, and you can't fault them for moving on, because at the time it just wasn't what needed to be. Like at the time, it was useful to build up and establish an audience for their launcher. But he's absolutely right. Steam has been resting on their laurels, and the fact that they're charging 30% as a royalty for selling, as the middleman, for selling the games is ridiculous. And the only way that you can adjust that is through competition, which he's addressed as well. We'll let him continue. What you got, Boogie?
Watch that last video. I hope that you do. I will link to it in the description box below. But we went over a lot of the things that the Epic Store is doing right. There is one thing the Epic Store is doing wrong, though, and it involves exclusive content. And we've talked about exclusive content quite a bit on this channel, specifically games that have been made and funded by console manufacturers like God of War and the Halo franchise and the Spider-Man game by Insomniac. And exclusive content can be a fairly good thing if the company, like Sony, like Steam, like Epic, like whoever else, decides to take a big chunk of money and throw it at the developer and say, create as a new IP or use one of our existing IPs to make something unique and incredible and cool. When you pay to put something new into the world, I like that kind of exclusive. But at the beginning of this console generation, we saw companies like Microsoft taking games that could have easily been, should have been on multi-platforms, like the Tomb Raider series, and throwing money at Square Enix and saying, look, we want a timed exclusive. We want this game to exclusively be on our store to try to help sell consoles. And that's the kind of exclusive that I hate. A game that easily could have been, should have been on multiple platforms, developed with somebody else's money, being purchased after the fact, to create some sort of false exclusivity. You didn't create anything, you just bought something. You didn't spend...
So, thank you, Thomas Richardson, for the sub. So, the complaint here being that, and you'll notice this is a trend, like it's very complaint-oriented. It's okay to be frustrated with these types of things, but I don't see how any of these complaints are warranted or cause really make any sense at all. So, like, if we're dealing with the issue of exclusivity, okay, he's leading into why people are upset about this Metro Exodus debacle, quote unquote. It's because of exclusivity. The companies used to pay to develop the game. So you think Sony and Naughty Dog, Sony pays them to develop their games, and it's exclusive for their console. The thing I need everybody to remember, and what isn't often discussed, is the fact that many of these issues that he's describing, and many of these titles that he's describing, couldn't exist unless they were funded exclusively, which he addresses. He says, like, yeah, they couldn't have been made otherwise. But what I mean specifically, if they are exclusives, they can be developed in such a way. So, for instance, Naughty Dog's titles, they're so well optimized to take advantage of the PlayStation 4's hardware, it couldn't work the same way, even if they were doing cross-platform between Xbox, just like that. Because the second you do that, it's not specialization anymore, it's a much broader thing. Thank you, Matei. So, instead of just focusing on one single console and set of hardware and specializing in that, many of these sort of alarmists like this tend to want everything everywhere. So they want to have pretty much everything Ubisoftified. So Naughty Dog games playable everywhere. And I totally understand that desire. I would like it, yeah, if my little brothers who only have an Xbox One could also play The Last of Us. I think it would be awesome. But what I want and what I wish is not always what makes sense. And part of our industry, the industry that we love and know so well, is exclusivity. It's just a fact of the matter. And so to act as though this is some crazy exceptional thing is kind of silly. Because what happened is when Epic approached the developers of Metro Exodus, they said, okay, you guys come over, you sell exclusively on the Epic Store, we'll give you a cut, you only have to pay us 12%, maybe even less if they're selling it for $50. They might be making up the differential in that price directly to the developer. And it's a timed exclusive for a year. So this game is only available for a year on Epic, and then it's available on Epic and Steam at the same time. So it's like, okay. And it would be one thing if they took it off Steam and then moved it to Epic and didn't address anything, and it was still $60 and that's it. At the very least then, I would probably still buy it because I knew that more money was going to the developer, and this is competition. It's going to force Steam to do it. And to respond in hopefully a pro-consumer way and a pro-developer way, where they lower their rate and they can address it professionally. But of course, that's not what happened. What happened is Steam went out and let me see if I can pull up this picture, because I found this hilarious. Absolutely, there it is. Let me show you this thing that Legacy Killer HD put out, and you know I've got my own thoughts with him, but I want to put this here. F11. Here we go. Let me show you this. So this was something that Steam published and posted in response to the news. Later today, sales of Metro Exodus will be discontinued on Steam due to a publisher decision to make the game exclusive to another PC store, Epic. The developer and publisher have assured us that all prior sales of the game on Steam will be fulfilled on Steam, and Steam owners will be able to access the game and any future updates or DLC through Steam. So once again, if you pre-ordered it, you can still play it through Steam, but from this point forward, all sales go through Epic. And then this is the kicker for me. We think the decision to remove the game is unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-sale period. We apologize to Steam customers that were expecting it to be available for sale through February 15th, the release date, but we were only recently informed of the decision and given limited time to let everyone know. Yeah, no, I totally understand what they're saying, but it's also like, we're talking about a different button on your home screen. Like, it's not the end of the world. Why do we have to pretend as though it is? Do I think that Metro and Epic should have handled this way? No. I think that because it was already being sold on Steam, they should have honored that and just offered it on Epic for $50 and moved on from there. I don't see how pulling out of sales on Steam really made sense, but, you know, that was probably a deal that Epic required of them. If you want us to do this, you need to sign an exclusivity deal and not sell your product on Steam at all. So it's unfortunate, yeah, but is it a major scandal? No. It's like, oh poo. Okay. I guess I gotta click another button. Like, let's be reasonable. It's not the end of the world. Now, as for this, Boogie goes on, and we'll just take a couple more minutes and look at this. So here,
money to create something new and put something good into the world. You spent money to make gaming worse by making a game more difficult to play and more difficult to purchase and more difficult to acquire. And today, that's what we saw the Epic Store do.
And this is my main issue. Once again, like, you can take a seed that, yeah, they took it off Steam. Is that frustrating? Yeah. Does that mean that they're making games harder for people to buy and to play? No. I just do not understand how you can argue that making it so the game opens off of the Epic launcher instead of the Steam launcher is anti-consumer and it is some travesty because they're forcing you to play in an inconvenient way. I have an unholy number of games on Steam. Let me show you how many games I have on Steam, just so you know that I'm not completely biased. I think I have 2 games through the Epic launcher right now, and that was a bunch of no, it's just like Fortnite, and then I have the free Jackbox Party Pack that they released for free on the store. That's all I've got on the Epic launcher. So obviously, if you look at this, check this out, boys and girls. I have a stupid number of games on Steam. Like, and part of this is because people will send me stuff because they're very kind, and then I just open it up and it turns out it's a game that I don't have. I don't know how they find out, but somehow they do. So obviously I'm partial to Steam. And yes, like Simple Yak says in the chat, you can add non-Steam games to your Steam account. I've like Assassin's Creed Origins I have added to my Steam account, and I bought it through Uplay. So you can still do it and have it all as a hub on Steam. A lot of this I honestly think is Steam pushing creators to say these things and behave this way. Of course, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just way too good for Steam for all of these YouTubers to be this animatedly outraged that Epic is offering the game on their platform for $10 less. Like, what other industry would people freak out about this? Like, oh, I'm buying a new Chevy, sedan, and there's 2 dealerships in town, the one on the north side, one on the south side, and those bastards, you know what? They had it on the north lot. They moved it to the south lot and took $5,000 off the asking price. Can you believe it? Those buggers, like, can you believe how anti-consumer they are? We should file a report with the Better Business Bureau about that. Like, come on. Come on. That's why, like, with all of these things, when people get upset, when people freak out like this, just take a deep breath, understand it's not the end of the world. As with most of these things, it's like, yeah, are there some issues with the way that they handled these things? Yes, of course. Like I said, I think that they should have left it up on Steam. People already pre-ordered it. You know, I think it's sloppy. It's sloppy, I guess, is the word I would use. But even with the way that it was handled, I don't see how it's a major issue. I don't see how this is an infringement on consumer rights. I just don't see it. That's enough on that. If you have any closing thoughts, let me know in the chat real quick. Before we move on to the next topic, let me prepare the timestamp. GameStop crash. Yeah, we're moving on. Don't worry. I just want to briefly touch on GameStop because I think this is something important to be informed on. Coffee asks Galfoud. Yeah, we'll talk about the EA Loot Crate thing. Don't let me forget. At least remind me of that. You're my little reminder. Remind me. Coffee Galfoud. I do have it. I did have it. I lost it. I lost my coffee somewhere. I don't know. Maybe. No, I don't know. I lost it. Oh, it's probably upstairs. So Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, right? Kingdom Hearts 3 came out like last night at 10 p.m. In my house, my two roommates, they are both crazy into Kingdom Hearts. I've never played like those games. I just didn't play them when I was young, so I never ended up playing them. But they're both crazy obsessed with the franchise. They've been waiting for this since the very beginning. My buddy Corey, who might see this, might be in the chat. I don't know. But he's crazy into the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and he texted me. He waited for the physical copy to get there today, and it didn't get there till like 2 hours ago. And he stayed home from class just so he could play it, which I don't blame him. Like, I do the same thing for big game releases I care about. But when he got it, he said the mail came and I have the game, and I'm like tearing up. Like, this is such a big, beautiful moment. And like, I've had those moments. Have you ever had those moments? Let me know in the chat when you've been waiting for something so long and then you finally get it, and it's just like magical. Like, you can't believe it's actually happening. And that's basically like us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Where we're about to hit 100,000 subscribers. Like, I always dreamed of this. I remember when I was at like 500 subs, and I watched a video. I think it was of Boogie. He did this skit thing for 100,000 subs years and years ago. Because, you know, obviously he's at 4.5 million. He hit 100,000 a while back. But he made this kind of skit video, and it was super funny when he hit 100,000 subs. And I was like, that's so cool to have 100,000 people that have clicked a button, that have said, I want to be notified of everything that's happened and that's going to happen on this channel. It's so crazy to me. And now we're about to hit it. So thank you. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to be playing Kingdom Hearts. I already have put in like 2.5 hours. And as an outsider, I think it's going to be interesting because I'm going to do like an outsider's critique where I just try to break it down from an outsider's perspective with no nostalgic attachment whatsoever. And I expect to get a little bit of hate from it. But, you know, what else is new? Probably we'll get some hate for the segment we just did. Yeah, Huge Anus 420 Blaze It in the chat. Yeah, I remember when you had 6K. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, if you were here, like, if you know the word Fugazi, then you've been here a while. How many critiques do I have in the pipeline? One is up for patrons right now, and that's the second part of the Assassin's Creed Odyssey critique. And then I have one on Vampire, whatever. Batman Arkham City. I'll be doing one, of course, on Kingdom Hearts, like I just said. And I don't think I'll announce the other ones that I'm doing. I'll leave that as a surprise. I've already given away too much. Anyway, let's do this. So, the GameStop crash. What happened? Let's all know. I want to pull up the stock. I should have done this already. By the way, if you guys don't invest with Robinhood, it's ridiculously easy to use. And I know I'm not being paid by them. I wish I was. I should reach out to them and try to get a sponsorship. But I freaking love Robinhood. Like, I've dealt with some investment stuff before because, of course, I'm studying finance and marketing. So, like, I deal with this all day in class. But, like, Robinhood by far, like, they don't have fees because they make money by selling your trading habits, which apparently is legal somehow. I don't know how. But, yeah, so this is the page right now. If you look at this, let's go back a week. This was GameStop this past week. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-boo. And then they bombed at the start of this morning. What exactly happened overnight that made it do this, you might ask? Well, that's a good question. Good question. Where is it? No GameStop buyout. No surprise. What exactly is this? Basically, GameStop has been looking for a buyer for like years at this point. Basically, it's well known that their industry is dying. Like, they make their money, if you're from outside the States, they make their money by selling primarily used games at a high markup for them. So they buy it for like $5, resell it at 20, and then they sell like warranties, and they sell some hardware as well. And then of course also new games, but the margins are very, very small on the new games. So with physical media going out the window and digital media being the new thing, their business is suffering pretty significantly, which is why if you look at this, if we go back 5 years, let's look at 5 years. Look at this. So they used to be trading at like $40, $45 a share. They peaked out over the last 5 years at like 45, 35. And that was back in 2015, and then, or like $46. And then it's just steadily been heading down to today, where it's trading down around $11 for a single share. And only 42% of analysts think that you should buy GameStop stock. And everyone else is like, either dump it or hold it and pray to God that the earnings increases. And the main issue and the reason that people are bailing is because they found out and they announced that they aren't going to be able to sell the company. So what most people and most investors were waiting for is hopefully, like, praying that they were going to find a buyer like Amazon. And I was thinking maybe Amazon would go through with it and would buy them out. But I just think Amazon is too ahead of the curve with Twitch and the digital side of things. I don't think they would hold themselves back with a physical medium. I just don't understand why they would do that. So they couldn't find a buyer. So they're basically just sitting and waiting to die. That's basically, in the finance world, that's what's happening. Like, they aren't going to be able to salvage much of anything. They sold their mobile phone and tablet business. What was it called? I think they say somewhere in this article. I don't see it. But they sold a segment of their company off. And it's trying to keep a sinking boat afloat. It's just a matter of time. But on Tuesday, the video game retailer said it had terminated efforts to find a buyer because financing was unavailable at terms that acquirers would find acceptable, sending shares tumbling more than 27%. And I don't need to tell you that a drop of 27% in any industry is terrible. So I think GameStop is on its way out, unfortunately, but it's about time. And I mean, GameStop's one of those companies that everybody loves to hate, but everyone still shops at and still goes there to buy used stuff because it tends to be cheaper. It's just, I don't know. Usually I'll only go to GameStop if I want an older game that I can't just grab somewhere else. So if I want like an old PS2 game, yeah, I'll go do that. And yeah, Simple Yak, the UK version of GameStop I think it's just called Game or Games or something like that. If somebody from the UK is watching, let us know. But yeah, so let's move on to Anthem. Anthem, yeah, I don't think I don't think Game is tied to GameStop in any way. That's just like their version of it. Anthem they had a big, of course, beta demo thing. It's sort of a beta, sort of a demo. It's not really clear. Let me pull up some of my footage. Now, don't get me wrong. It took me a hell of a long time to actually get into the demo. It took several tries and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But I eventually did. There we go. I eventually was able to get into it. Let me hit play. Where's the play button? There it is. And this is what it looked like for me. So the game looks really good. If you haven't seen the video I did on it, yeah, this was when I found a sort of shading glitch. I was playing with some buddies of mine, and we were just kind of looking for things to be upset about, as YouTubers do, right? But it's sort of interesting. Once you do the missions they have set aside, it works pretty well. This is a game that is going to be made so much better by playing with people that you know. Just like Monster Hunter World, I thought I understood that game until I played it with my roommates, and all of a sudden it was a whole new thing. And I think this is going to be the same story. Same song, second verse. Which, like, it's okay to be a multiplayer game. Like I said in the video I recently did, it's okay to be a multiplayer game. Nobody's faulting you for doing that. It's just when you advertise yourself as like a single player narrative title, and then you create a game that's basically in the stylings of Monster Hunter World mixed with Destiny, mixed with a bunch of other multiplayer style games, it doesn't work as well. So yeah, and what was that? Yeah, Leesky, and when Luke mentioned I couldn't unsee the Mass Effect links. Yeah, there's a lot of like Andromeda ties and Mass Effect inspirations, which again are okay, but you can definitely see where they took Andromeda and where that started, and then this begins. So it's interesting. I want it to be good. I want it to be real good. And I think I got footage of this bit where I experimented and got a new, maybe I didn't. I hope I did. I thought I did. I was able to go and get a new suit, and or javelin, I guess it's called. Look at me. I'm such a noob. Where is it? Click, 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 click. I also ran into a glitch where it locked me out while I was doing stuff. But yeah, like, it is just frustrating that you will go through all of this and then it just glitches out. And one thing that somebody was telling me was it's not even a beta, so we can't even be upset that it's like an unpolished beta. We can be upset though because like this is supposed to be a demo. They advertised it as a demo and people couldn't get into the game. Now they said from the outset that people, like, this was an older build. This was going to be out of date pretty much the day that they released it. It was not a great indicator of where this was going. But still, I don't see how that's a good thing. Like, you'd think that they would be able to get a build that at least works semi-decently, but apparently not. I don't know. I'm going to try it. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a video, or I'll do a critique on it, or at least a breakdown or an essay or something. But it is just, I don't know. I want this to be good. I want this to be good because I want BioWare to make a comeback. But if this game does not absolutely nail it, I forget the user. A longtime viewer commented on the video I did, and they said that if Anthem flops, then they fully expect BioWare to be shut down, just like all of the other studios EA has shut down recently, specifically the Star Wars related ones. And I can totally see that happening, because the only reason that a studio, quote unquote, like a named entity exists, oh yeah, if it was Galfad, yeah, the only reason that exists is because it's brand recognition. So you see Bethesda Game Studios, you buy that because it's a BGS title. It's the same guys that did Skyrim and Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and Oblivion that you know and love. And the second that name loses weight, they have no reason to keep that name around. So they might as well get rid of it, send you over to a new ambiguously named title or studio like Ubisoft Montreal, like something really bland, you know, or like EA Vancouver or whatever it may be. And in that case, you know, who cares? The talent's still there. They still have the employees, but it's just they don't have to be bogged down by a name, which EA tends to do a lot, because they tend to butcher studios' reputations, and then they're like, oh crap, this isn't useful to us anymore, let's get rid of it. And they do that pretty quickly. But like the Javelin customization seems cool. The one thing you'll notice, this is they have like the coins and the shards. So they'll have seemingly in-game currency, and then they'll also have paid currency. And I'm guessing the shards, which is in the bottom left of the screen right now, down here, those will be the premium currency that you buy with good old money. Good old money. If you're a studio, why take an exclusive publisher? EA Venezuela. Why take an exclusive publisher? Because they'll usually front you a ton of money. Like a ton. Like with, what was the example with, I mean, I guess you could look at Bungie and Activision. Like, developing a game is expensive. They usually need a publisher to front the cost. And so a publisher will give them the money as long as they develop it in this certain way. And then once the game is released, the publisher gets repaid, and then the studio makes the money that they wanted to make. So it's this sort of you scratch my back, I scratch yours relationship, which is good. And it's good that publishers exist, because it does allow big companies to support the little guys, but it also can turn bad because the house always wins. And if the publisher, like Activision, requires that there's a ton of microtransactions built into the game so that they can be sure to remake their investment, they get the final say because they fronted the money. It's just like, how many of you guys have seen the movie Moulin Rouge? If you've seen the movie Moulin Rouge, watch it again. I recommend it. And if you haven't seen it, watch it. Basically, like, it's a good musical. It's in the same styling as like Rock of Ages, but it's with Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. It's really well done. But in it, they're at the Moulin Rouge, which is this big theater, and they're preparing a show. And the Duke comes in. And he's very, very wealthy. I forget his full name. I think they just call him the Duke for the whole film. And he comes in and he says, okay, I'll fund your production, but things have to be done my way. And basically it's implied that Nicole Kidman is going, it's not just implied, it's said, Nicole Kidman is going to let him get his stinky if he funds the show, and she'll give him love if he gives them the money to do the production. And then it ends up, as the show goes on, he starts having these demands of how the story needs to go and how this is to be done, and all of a sudden you end up with this monstrosity because the producer demanded something be done. Even though they don't understand the industry they're in or what they're doing, they hold the cards, they hold the power, so they can do whatever the hell they want, which again kind of makes sense because they are kind of the head honchos. But at the same time, it's frustrating because they don't necessarily know what they're doing. Like, you can be a really good business individual, a business tycoon who's really good at fronting money and knowing how to make more money in any industry. Doesn't mean that you're going to be good at the things within that industry. You know, just because you're coming in and you're funding a game's development doesn't mean you're going to be good at developing games, right? So, what was the other topic that we said we were going to address that we didn't? I asked somebody to remind me. Where are you now? I need you. I need you. I need you in my life. EA Loot Crates, that's right. EA Loot Crates. Let's talk about some EA Loot Crates. Let me pull up this article. So, if you have any thoughts on this debacle, put them in the comment section below. There's a slight delay. But basically what happened while you guys are doing that, I'll catch everybody up. Full screen. And go here. Troy Jones, thanks for the sub. Troy Jones. That sounds like Troy Jones. Sounds like a soccer player. Let's be real. Really does. So EA just surrendered in Belgium FIFA Ultimate Team Loot Box rights, effectively, which basically what happened is in Belgium they said that, hey, these loot crates and loot boxes and everything that you're doing in FIFA are pretty much gambling. Like, you're paying for packs and then you're doing this. It's basically gambling. We're not stupid and super corrupt, at least in the ways that a lot of other corporate and governmental bodies are. So stop it. And EA was going to fight it and they were going to do stuff, but they just decided to roll over and just say, whatever. So after Belgium declared that loot boxes in video games constituted unregulated gambling, many companies who employed the practice, like Blizzard and Valve, were quick to eliminate their sale in the country. But EA took a public stand against the ruling and was going to take the issue to court. Now that has changed. EA, after speaking with Belgian authorities, has agreed to follow the other games, specifically to stop selling FIFA points, which can then be turned in to buy loot boxes and player packs. Players will still be able to earn them in game. They just can't be bought with the currency being sold for real money. EA's official statement on the decision this week was, quote, "We seek to bring choices, fairness, value, and fun to our players in all our games, in addition to providing players options in how they play. We include pack probabilities in our games for the transparencies that players want to make informed content choices. While we are taking this action, we do not agree with the Belgian authorities' interpretation of the law, and we will continue to seek more clarity on the matter as we go forward. The impact of this change to FIFA Ultimate Team in Belgium is not material to our financial performance." And I think that, like, that last bit is very, very important. Like, let's be real. Belgium is not a huge market for EA, so like if this were happening in the States, yeah, this would be an issue. Or if this were happening in Germany, like, it would be a big issue. Belgium, love you guys. It's just not a huge market for EA specifically. I don't think that's controversial to say. More than anything, this just seems like they're rolling over and they're just like, you know what? It's not worth the fight. And you better believe they're coming up with some loophole workaround for the next release of FIFA. And I think that's more what this is. I find it surprising that their stance is choosing to double down and say, yeah, they're still wrong. We just aren't going to bother. And it's not important to our fiscal performance. I think that's interesting because you'd think that they would have spun it and been like, you know what? We've realized loot boxes are we understand their frustrations and we want to adhere to the law of the country that's governing our players because we love our players, that sort of thing, you know, typical PR double speak. But if they did that, then they'd have to be held accountable across the planet, which is the main concern. Because if they have to cut these sort of gambling practices out of all of their games, then they're in real trouble. Kaizen-san. That's just fun to say. Kaizen-san. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I understand the argument that it's gambling and it needs to be regulated, and I agree with that. I think quite clearly, if you pay for something and then you get something out of it, like that you don't know, and you're risking your money to see whether or not it's good or bad, like that's weird. It's like Magic the Gathering. You buy card packs. The stuff in the card pack could be worth like $300. Just for like 10 cards or 13 or 15 cards. Or you open up and it's worth 30 cents. But you're paying the same amount either which way. The argument in the States, in terms of like the laws that preceded it and what the precedent says, is basically like you're buying a product. Part of the product is that it's variable in value. So by definition, you're buying something that could be really worthwhile to one person over the other, but it's not inherently more valuable than another thing. It's not like you're buying this pack of cards, and then in some of the pack of cards, there's $100 bill, which is going to be worth the same thing for everybody. If that differential makes sense. It's complicated and convoluted. It's stupid. No, Galfad, this is unfortunately water because I'm trying to be a good boy. I'm not fun anymore, I suppose. And so looking at the stream, let me know if did you guys see drop frames? I see in XSplit, or no, OBS, that's what I'm using now. It says 62 dropped frames, which is about a second. I don't know when that happened. That's weird. I don't know. I've tried to fix all of these frame drops before, and I just don't know what happens. I don't know what happens. Yeah, is that your coffee? So it's pre-coffee. You're damn right, it's pre-coffee. Anything can be coffee if you squeeze it through beans. Quote me on that. Try it. Name a liquid. Put it through coffee beans, it's coffee. Name any liquid. I understand the logic behind the ruling, but it does exploit the gambling issues. Yeah, well, that's the issue with like the law system. Well, I'm not sure if I should say it's the issue with it, but it's one of the frustrations in some cases with the legal system in the States and in the UK, and pretty much anywhere that shares common law as the centerpiece of its legal system, is because it's all built on precedent. So if one person says, or one judge says things are this way, everything has to be based off of that ruling unless that ruling is overturned by another higher authority. So if one court rules that card packs for Magic the Gathering are not gambling, then that same argument that judge and that decision that judge made can be reapplied to something within FIFA or within Madden 2019. Because they're like, well, it's card packs. They're just digital card packs, but it's the same thing. They have the same drop chances. And the judge has to be like, well, yeah, Justice whatever, blah, 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 Davidson in the 9th District Circuit Court of Appeals said that they are not gambling whatsoever, and then they appealed it to try to go to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court refused to hear it. So that's the final word on the issue. So this is what it is. That's the thing, you can't really undo it unless Congress goes and makes a sweeping declaration that it is this way or that way. Yeah, at least they show the odds now. Yeah, I think that's good. Transparency is always better. Plus, it's just kind of cool to see what things are worth. But if anything, I think they should have released the odds way before this, because I think it makes everything more valuable. If you know like how rare, you're like, oh, this has a 0.00125% chance of dropping, and it did. That's awesome. So it should be worth this amount. That sort of thing. I would have to do some number crunching on it to see if it actually works, but it seems like that would boost the value. At least to me, it seems that way. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Snide remarks? Anything you guys want to hear or talk about before we go and depart? While you guys are typing that in, once again, just another reminder, if you want to see the new critique early, it is up on Patreon. So if you jump over there and donate even $1, you can see the video early, which does help. And plus then you'll be cooler than everyone else. Usually how I don't like to stack videos. So I don't like to release 2 videos in the same day. I don't know. It doesn't seem to work well, so I just don't. But anyway, this will go up probably tonight, probably show up on YouTube tomorrow morning, and then the podcast will also be up on iTunes and Spotify tomorrow. And then the critique will be up probably the day after or 2 days after. So let me know what you think of all these topics. I appreciate you guys sitting it out with me. We're going to be doing live streams and playing some games. So once again, make sure to follow here on Twitch before we go so that you get notified of the next time we're just hanging out and playing games, which is always fun. It's always a blast, and we have fun. And who knows, maybe I'll even pull out Khaleesi. I don't know if you can see her. See, right? That's her. She's laying in her hammock, and she has her arm wrapped around. How cute is that? She's pretty damn cute. She sits there all day and just watches me work, which is, I think, adorable. Anyway, Liski says, hey, you have great quality. If it works for you, keep doing it. And unlike some streamers, you actually can say my name right. I'm glad that I can at least do that for you. You know, it's all in the little things, guys. Little things, baby steps, making the world to go round. Thank you for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next video, which should be out tomorrow morning or in a couple days. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Make sure to follow so you know when we're hanging out. Bye. I love you.